Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I'm your host, Max Keller-Halls. And
Sorry. What?
Oh god. Just
Is that what that sounded like on your end?
yeah.
I just went like, because I drank half my beer.
Just the way it sounded was just like, oh, this fucking guy.
Okay, real intro.
No, I'm keeping that in. Alright, we're reviewing Joker. It wouldn't be a real Joker review if we didn't start with uncontrollable laughter.
Hi guys, it's me, Emily. You may know me from other episodes of Million Dollar Media, such as that one that you're thinking of, or even that one that you're not thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first time drinking on Million Dollar Media because it's the Joker movie, and I aspire to bring chaotic energy to this review. So I will be a little bit more unhinged than usual.
Oh god. We're doing a review for Joker, the 2019 film directed by Todd Phillips, starring Joaquin Phoenix. The film that, for good or ill, blew up the internet pretty much.
That it did.
We're reviewing this because Joker Folie à Deux is coming out. I think it's
the
only...
part of me that speaks French just died hearing you pronounce that way.
How's
just Folie à Deux.
Folie à Deux?
Yeah, Folie à Deux.
Folie à Deux?
Not do.
Do?
Yeah, deux.
Alright, Folie à Deux.
There you go.
Alright.
Now you sound like a douchebag.
If I didn't before. But
yeah, new Joker movie's coming out, guys. It's gonna be good, or maybe it will be bad. It has Lady Gaga in it.
I'll say this: whatever film Lady Gaga is in, she's the best part of that movie.
It's true. I did not care for her Star is Born remake, but she was really good in it.
I hated House of Gucci, but I did like her in it.
There you go. This is actually a Lady Gaga fan podcast. Welcome back to Little Monster Media.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, so Joker, the first one, which does not have Lady Gaga in it,
Nope.
is also the movie that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I also really liked Taxi Driver.
Yeah, okay, well, alright, I'm just gonna say this, all jokes aside, I like this movie. I've kind of lost a lot of, like, the love and adoration for it, mostly because I've watched it a couple more times. I'm a little bit more, like, socially conscious on certain things. And also, the director isn't helping that much, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I loved watching the behind the scenes in the film and listening to what he actually had to say about the reasons why he made the film. But it's also really funny that he only made the film because he wanted to make a really serious character drama. However, no one sees those in theaters anymore. So he was like, what do people see? Comic book films. What's a character that'd be kind of interesting? Joker.
Yeah, which, if unconfirmed leaks are to be believed, some things related to that happen in Joker 2.
Really? Okay, but I am trying to stay very far away from spoilers with Joker 2 because I just want to go see it and make my own opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go see it. And honestly, again, I will not actually spoil anything, but the thing that I have heard could be not incredibly horrible, but it could also, it feels very swingy.
For me, okay, so basically what this film is a Joker origin story, which I remember when they announced this film, a lot of people were like, really? You're gonna do that? Okay, sure. And what I can say that I appreciate about this film, and I really like this film, and the reason why I do like it is that it is one of those unreliable narrator stories in that, like, by the end of it, you could be like, none of this could be real. Or parts of it could be real, and that's kind of the fun to be like, okay, what actually happened, what didn't happen, besides the stuff that they actually tell you in the film, that didn't happen.
Right.
Which kind of takes all the fun out of it, but for me, that just kind of proves in the story that, like, hey, maybe other things that haven't been revealed to him are also not true. Like, one of the things that no one ever talks about that I always found really interesting, it kind of goes into the Joker's psyche that I liked in the film, that's like a total, like, if you not really care and not paying attention, it'll just kind of go past you. But like the moment where he guns down those Wall Street guys, he's shooting more bullets than what that gun can hold.
Right.
And that was a moment in the theater I was like, hold on, that's like a 6-shooter, and he just shot like 12 bullets without reloading. And to me, I think that's one of those like really subtle things. Like, we're in a heightened reality. This might be fake because things aren't working as they're supposed to. And plus, the scene ends with him dancing in the bathroom in a very surreal thing, and like I really like that scene too. Like I love the music, and oh my god, I just want to gush about the music real quick. The score done by Hilder, name here. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that last name. I will butcher it. I genuinely
German
think,
person.
yeah, or Swedish or something. But the music done by her is incredible. I still listen to it unironically. It's good mood making music. I listen to it and it gets me into a very focused mood, and I really appreciate that. And it goes great with the film and trying to show someone's deteriorating psyche and just depressive nature of everything in Gotham. I just think it is the perfect soundtrack for the film, and I appreciate how they actually made the score first, then they made the movie.
I believe it.
Which I think that is a great way to make a film. By doing that, the music just flows so well within every scene of the film, and it's just so well done. And scenes like the bathroom scene and the ending, the score just makes this film soar, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better elements.
Mm-hmm. But other elements that I think are incredible is obviously Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, he won an Oscar for it. But yeah, I genuinely think like this interpretation of Joker, Arthur Fleck, is really good. It's different than what other people have done, but it has very fleeting elements of the comic book Joker that kind of make me think like, okay, this could grow into the one from the comics.
Right.
In that, like, the way they explained the laugh, I thought was really clever. He's not just laughing to laugh. It's because he has a condition which he basically has uncontrollable bursts of laughter. And I think that's a really clever way to do it, because he's not laughing out of joy. He's laughing because he's in pain, or that's the only way he can convey emotions. Like, yeah, I just think that's a really interesting way to tell a Joker story and recontextualize a very important part of the character. I mean, he also got like super skinny for the role. Like, gotta give credit to that. I've never seen anybody nail this Joker impression. I've seen people nail the Heath Ledger interpretation, the Jack Nicholson interpretation. Hell, the Jared Leto interpretation.
It's not a hard one to impersonate.
No, because it's shit. But then I think the also part that makes this Joker so special is that the last one we got was the Jared Leto interpretation. So that was like a really low bar, and then this one just fucking over the moon with it.
Fair.
But yeah, those are things I like about this film. Other than that, I love the acting all around. Like, I think Robert De Niro's really good. Zazie Beetz really good. I like the little person he has as a friend. I thought that character was kind of fun. I thought that was also an interesting way to kind of... I don't want to put this in a negative way, but like in the comics, Joker has a bunch of like carnival freaks as like minions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's still like a clown in this movie.
Yeah.
And he has like clown friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking of like in stories like Killing Joke and what is it?
Sorry.
Killing Joke, yeah, Killing Joke and The Dark Knight Returns, where like little people are part of his crew. I like that they made him an actual character, so that when people make jokes about him, it's that dark humor of like you laugh at first, but then you kind of feel bad for the guy. And then when like he has that one scene with Arthur where Arthur kills that one guy who was a dick, and then it's this scene where you're like, I don't know if Joker's gonna kill this guy or he's gonna let him go. And I feel like they built that character up in such a way where like, okay, like I'm actually worried for this guy.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that was an element that worked about that character a lot. And also just that scene where Joker kills that guy is great.
Mm-hmm. I never thought of it, but like seeing the Joker without the red lipstick and the eye makeup and just the plain white, it's just a really creepy idea.
Yeah. And it's executed well. That's my favorite scene in this film.
Really?
Partially because nobody speaks during it, which makes it leagues better than many of the other sequences in this film to me.
Fair. I also appreciate the distinction that, like, when he has, like, the red lipstick on, it's, like, a darker maroon. And then when you actually see blood in this film, it's, like, a brighter red. I don't know. I think that's interesting in that, like, when you're in his psyche, like, blood is a little bit more, like, vibrant and interesting and fantastical to him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just noticed that little stuff when in the theater, because I was also like, what if the blood is what he puts on his makeup? But no, it's obviously something different. Yeah, those are things I like. I'll probably have more later when I try to defend myself. I'm curious, as Emily, as to what your thoughts on the film are, because I've been talking for the last 12 minutes.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna take a drink of my beer here.
All right.
So, is Joker a good movie? Yes. Is it a movie that I liked? Not really. I respect a lot of the things that this movie was going for. I joke a lot of the time about how this movie is basically just the king of comedy. And it is the king of comedy. Like, to be clear, it is the exact same movie. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Many a great film has just been an existing movie, but with a new coat of paint.
Just think of all the Die Hard ripoffs.
Yeah, like Equalizer and John Wick, same movie, both great.
True.
Right? As much as I want to say this movie is annoying because it's just a movie that already exists, that's not really a fair criticism. What is a fair criticism to me is I think a lot of this movie's good points are undercut by the fact that it just has elements that completely do not work for me. Its plot meanders in ways that I don't really like, and it doesn't find a footing in like a forward narrative direction until the very end. I am a person where I really strongly just I don't deal well with nonlinear narrative. Like I want things to be forward moving, beginning, middle, end. And I get frustrated when it feels like things meander in the way that they do in this movie. Not to say that it's bad, it just doesn't work for me as a storytelling style. I feel like there are parts that I really liked, like Joker's interactions with his mom are great. And then there are parts where it's like, we're going to dedicate 20 minutes of this movie to the idea that Thomas Wayne's a character and Joker could maybe be his son. And then that's not the case, and we move on. Not to say that that doesn't serve a purpose, but it kind of encapsulates my personal distaste for the way that this movie is told, which is that it feels like it just combines unrelated short story elements into them being related at the very end, which is fine. It's just not a style that particularly appeals to me as a person who enjoys a very different kind of narrative. Does that make any sense?
I can see that, yeah. But for me, I think that's one of the only like comic book element things in this movie that really works for me. And that like it feels like different issues of an ongoing like story. So like issue 1 is it ends with him killing those Wall Street guys. And then issue 2 ends with him at the comedy club, and then issue 3 ends with him getting the phone call to be on the Murray Show, and one of the issues has like the Thomas Wayne story arc, and then the final issue is him on the Murray Franklin Show and everything that happens at the very end. Like, yeah, that kind of feels like a comic book to me in a movie that's very much trying not to be like a comic book.
Yeah, but like you take my point where it's like it's a very non-linear story structure. It feels like it's just comprised short stories that make up an arc, which is just not a style that works for me, but it might work for other people.
I think for me, it's just like that works as a story structure for me because like, and I'm not trying to make a pun here, that's life. It's just a series of like various different events that sometimes they connect, sometimes they don't connect. And depending on how you want to end your story, they all just kind of narratively threaded together in a certain way. And like, that's how I kind of see this film. And like, yes, I could totally see that bothering people, but I don't think that's as big a problem in this film as I've seen it in other films.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, it's a thing, it's a trope of storytelling where I'm usually like, something isn't going to be for me. And that's a situation where it's like, I don't enjoy this because for me, as much as it's like, yeah, that's life, I seek out stories that are more like, we're going to tell a beginning, middle, and end with a clear forward progression because I like escaping from the chaos and disconnection of lived experience because it's so much of my work life and my personal life, like so much of that is already real to me that I crave the structure of narrative when I'm engaging with art. And this is just not something that necessarily provided that for me.
That's fair.
Which is why I came out of it dissatisfied.
I think the word you said there of chaos, though, kind of works in this movie's favor, though, because it is intentional. It works for
what it's going for.
Yeah.
I just don't like what it's going for. Like, it's not for me, hence my point.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
The less, like, subjectively this isn't for me criticism of this movie, for me, I don't think this movie has very good dialogue. I feel like a lot of the times Joaquin Phoenix's performance is so fantastic, and then he has to read a line that the script for this movie had in it, and then I'm like, oh my god.
One thing is, like, he's in 99% of the film. So, like,
Yeah.
most of the time, he's not saying much, or he's just laughing, and you're just focused on that. But yeah, upon reflection and like thinking about a lot of the lines in this movie, they are very much just like some actor from like a stage stepping on and saying their line and then quickly getting out just to get out of the way for the main performer.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, again, I love Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's great in this movie. I just think the dialogue is not at the level where I would want it to be, and it consistently takes me out of the experience, which is why I think the best scenes in this movie, like Joker putting himself in the fridge, that sequence where he stabs that guy and they all wear all white face makeup, are some of the best scenes in the movie, simply because nobody is talking during them, and the acting is allowed to speak for itself.
Yeah, like the Thomas Wayne stuff is the only part where I'm like, that is both over the top in like, but it's also over top in a way where it's like, oh no, I've heard politicians sound like that before, talking about certain people like that, and it makes sense, like the way he would say that. But then there's also like some of the Wall Street guys who, for some reason, just know how to sing "Send in the Clowns."
Sure.
Like, okay, that makes no sense, but like,
I mean, but it's surrealism, right? Like that element of it works in its favor, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's cool to be like, sure, these guys know how to sing Bring in the Clowns, because fuck it, that's what the story demands for. And as far as we can tell, a lot of this movie's structure is based around like things happen because the narrative demands it in a way that I actually think really makes sense for the sort of is this or is this not happening aspect of the film.
That's fair.
Because it's like things are motivated by the necessity that they need to happen, which creates this very interesting element of like, when things move forward, is it because they're moving forward organically in the like chaos situation, or is it because this story is being told, like literally meta-narratively being told, and therefore must progress?
This was one of the points I wanted to bring up later, but like, yeah, like because of the way the film ends in Arkham, like talking to the therapist who looks very similar to the therapist earlier in the film too. It does bring up this idea of like, okay, so is this just him kind of like filling in little details about what they said in his own fucked up way? I think the worst line in the film for me, and the one that's so on the nose, hammer over the fucking head, is when he's at the Murray Franklin show and he basically says, if like you would just walk right over the street, if not even giving a single thought about me, what do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that fails him? And I'm like, this does not sound like the Joker from earlier, because to me, the Joker from earlier didn't talk like this.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The dialogue, in addition to being bad, is also just not consistent. Characters aren't consistently characterized, which kind of works if you're going for the like, oh, is it real angle? But it's very frustrating when you have moments like that where it's like, why is Arthur just like a completely different character than he was 15 minutes ago?
And not in a natural way, because that is the whole point of this film. Of him, you see him beginning of the film, he's Arthur Fleck, loser. End of the film, Joker, incel king.
Sure.
In that, like, he's got the confidence and stuff like that, but like, even with him being that confident and such, I just don't think he gives a shit that much about society in that way.
Yeah.
Because, like the thing that I always found really interesting is that, like, he will like, when he's watching the TV and he's listening to, like, the Murray Franklin show and hearing about all the stuff that's going on in the real world with, like, Thomas Wayne calling people clowns and shit like that, it's all just kind of like, oh, okay, like, I caused this, but, like, it's not, like, I don't care about any of that stuff because I'm just focused on what's going on in my life. So all of a sudden, him giving a shit about the little man doesn't make any sense. And it's also not very Joker, in my opinion. Like, I think, like, the quintessential, like, Joker giving a shit about society is, like, Heath Ledger, in that he doesn't really care. He just wants to prove a point that we're not civilized people. Right. Like, we're just animals and stuff like that. And so when you see this Joker, and again, two very different stories, two very different motives, and also one's a villain in a movie, one's a main character in the film, but they're still the same character.
Yeah, and I don't know. I never agreed just ideologically with the idea of let's make Joker a revolutionary leader. That does not feel very in line with the way that character has ever been portrayed.
No, like, he's been a mafia boss, and like he has like elements of like leadership in him, but it's more out of like he rules by fear, not by like
he's not like communist king. Like
yeah.
And it feels very odd because I think it's one of those moments where you can really tell in the third act that this was adapted from a movie that was originally about an original character and not the Joker,
Mm-hmm.
because it feels so vastly out of character for the thing that they're adapting.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of wish Todd Phillips had just made that movie, because I feel like I'd be kinder to that movie if I didn't have to reckon with the fact that it's like, okay, but there's like a whole bunch of source material that says that this thing you're doing is completely different. And I am on board with adaptations changing stuff. I just don't think the story presented in this movie justifies the level of change given to Joker from even the earlier incarnations of the character as seen 20 minutes prior in this same movie.
Yeah.
It feels like he flips a switch, he dances to the Hey song, and then suddenly he's like a woke revolutionary.
Yeah. Yeah. Admittedly, like, yeah, when he puts on the makeup, it's like it's satisfying because you're like, oh man, this is what we've been building up to. Like, he's built this character that's honestly, I think the progression or degression, if you will, of the character into Joker is really well done. I just think when he is Joker, there's things that I'm like, that doesn't really fit. I don't mind him getting up at the end and doing the bloody smile and like, this is who I am now, and like him dancing it for all the people. That feels Joker to me. But
Yeah.
the context of him being like, I am incel king.
I am king of the poor people.
I am king of the poor incels, loners, and stuff like that. Like, Joker has been known the clown prince of crime, but I never really saw him as someone that would lead like a king. And I feel like that's kind of a little bit of the interpretation that's going on here. Like, I don't have a problem with like the idea of like Joker killing these Wall Street guys and just so happen having clown makeup on and that inspiring a revolution. That feels very natural to me, of like people taking an idea of like this guy was in clown makeup and is this vigilante even, and then spin it to where, oh no, now everybody's gonna put on clown makeup and riot, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense to me. Like, that's a natural progression.
Natural.
Yeah. And then the idea of like, oh no, Joker taking credit for that makes sense. But I don't know, just that one line before he shoots Murray Franklin always didn't sit well with me. But then when
none of the lines sat well with me in this movie, being
That's
so real.
fair.
So much of the dialogue feels so ham-fisted and awkward.
Yeah.
And I think the filmmaking does a lot to elevate a very mediocre script.
Oh yeah.
I think the score does a lot to elevate a very mediocre script. I think that is the department this movie was lacking in, and as we have established on previous episodes, writing is a lot of what I care about in movies, because I am here for that narrative, right? Like I like narrative so much, and so as much as I love the acting and the score and the filmmaking is great, I just can't put my whole heart behind liking it, because I feel like the actual story the movie is telling, it just feels so off base at times. It feels like it's inconsistent. There's these weird moments that don't ever really get an explanation that's satisfying. There's stuff like the Thomas Wayne stuff that feels like it's meandering and never goes anywhere. And
it goes somewhere, but
it doesn't go somewhere that
is new.
Feels new.
I remember even in the theater, when I see Zorro and the Gay Blade being played on the marquee and you see the Waynes walk out, I'm like, well, all right, here we go again. And I was like, honestly, if they were to have just shown the clown mask guy walk by them into the alley, like, and then just ended off there, perfect. You know what happens if you know the story, but just them going like, bang, bang, rip the pearls off, done. Like, okay, I guess we just did the death of the Waynes again.
Yes. My joke coming out of that movie that I made, I think I saw it with I saw it maybe with some friends or my mom or something, but I was like, holy shit, was that just a 2-hour elaborate prank to get us to watch Thomas and Martha Wayne dying a fucking again?
Yeah.
It would be like if they made a Green Goblin origin story that ends with Norman Osborn standing on a street corner watching Uncle Ben get shot. And it's just like, did they just fucking... It's almost like a Rickroll. It's like...
But even then, like, there is that theory that this entire film is the Joker realizing who Batman really is.
Yeah, but that's just a theory. It doesn't... Like, it's cool to extend that extra textually, but it doesn't feel like that's present enough in the movie for me to consider it like an upside.
But the only reason why I would say that's an interesting theory is because then why the hell is Bruce Wayne in this film?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think the reason why the hell is Bruce Wayne in this film is the same reason we're asking why the hell is the fucking Falcon and Ant-Man. They
fair.
wanted to make money off of using a marketable character. That's legitimately...
But with the example of the Falcon there, that's Anthony Mackie in the costume doing Falcon stuff. This is some random kid who at most goes down a pole like the 1960s version. And that's a little Easter egg for you fans out there. That's it. That's the most Batman thing that Bruce Wayne does.
Yeah.
Except for his parents getting shot.
But you know what I mean? It just feels like it was in there because some exec was like, can't have a Batman like character movie without Batman in it.
The thing is about this is like, I remember like going out of this theater was just like, okay, this could be an interesting one and done film. Or if they do go forward, there's two things that I'd want to see. And one of them they are doing with the sequel. I want to see their interpretation of a Harley Quinn. We're getting that. And I would really be interested to see how this world would do a Batman.
Yeah, I would be interested to see that too. I don't think this movie needed a sequel, TBH.
Me neither. I think this would have been a one and done, perfectly fine film, but it made too much money.
Yeah, and too many Academy Award nominations.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Like, I think the other thing that's kind of soured this film for me is the online reaction to it and the fandom that kind of spun out of this film.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I feel like before, like, the Joker was seen as a villain with some ideology that some people are like, that, like, I could see where he's coming from, but he's going about it in a very wrong way. And that's what made the Heath Ledger version so interesting. But with making the Joker such an incel and someone that a lot of people on the internet can relate to,
yeah,
it made this very toxic fandom out of even worse than Snyder fans.
Yeah, and that's a high bar.
That is a very high bar. I forgot the name of the guy, but it's that guy who would dress up in the Joker makeup and just say slurs.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. And, like, it was I remember people saying, like, this is a dangerous movie. And again, we've had a discussion, we recorded something previously that'll be released later. We talked about the idea of how do you separate the art from what people may take out of it. But, like, I remember during when this film came out, I remember a bunch of people were afraid that there was going to be shootings.
Yeah.
Like,
I recall that too. It was crazy. Like, people were really scared of that. And then I watched it, and I'm gonna be real. My reaction was that was it. Like,
yeah, no, like I was like, I don't think this film deserves to. Like, well, then again, like The Dark Knight Rises, unfortunately, had a situation like that. And that,
but that wasn't because of the political ideology of the film.
Exactly. So I'm just saying, like, anything can happen but this film stirring up that pot, I was afraid too because like it came out October that year as well. So like it came out really close to Halloween. And, like, one of the things was, like, no one dressed up in clown makeup. Like, theaters would not allow people in with clown makeup.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, it was just, which at one point, in one ideology, it's like, that's actually kind of cool just how much of a impact this film had on,
yeah,
in, like, the real world. And keep in mind, I think another byproduct of the whole toxic fan backlash is by the time this film got to like digital and physical media or video on demand, we were in COVID.
Yes.
So we were all very alone. We could relate to the character. And I think just all those elements and what the film was about. And then hell, I'm not going to make too much of a comparison here because they're two very different like reasons why people were doing this. But like in 2020, we also had a bunch of protests.
Yeah, which, I mean, kind of adds to the element of the movie being like, this is about sort of intense political situation and revolution, and there was an intense political situation and revolution, even though they were about entirely different things.
Exactly my point, and I'm not trying to compare one to the other. I'm not trying to say one is a violent thing, because I don't think it was.
Yeah, it's a whole situation.
But just the comparison to, like, people out on the streets, that's what I'm comparing it to.
Yeah.
But it's just that was the thing that was going on at the time. And so you would see all these people online suddenly become like, oh shit, this is kind of like Joker. And like the fact that none of the people behind the film even made like any comments about that is fascinating to me.
Yeah. I'm sure they weren't allowed to for like...
Oh yeah.
Legal purposes. But as much as I have kind of been the negatory voice on Joker. I do think it has merit as a film. It just has a lot of aspects that really that clash with my personal taste in movies, which led to it being one of those movies that I walked out of and I was like, there was definitely a demographic for this movie and I am not part of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is not a movie that was made for me. And there are movies that I like that I'm sure other people would walk out of and be like, this sucked because it was very different to what I would want.
I saw this film with a group of people. They're actually people I just met in college too. So it was like, okay, I'm going to really see who's who in this situation. Me and another friend really liked it. And then the other two who were with us did not like it. Like they just straight up said, I didn't like that.
Fair.
And I was like, that's fair. And I was trying to understand their idea because, again, it's post-movie high. So you're like, oh, I really like that. I really like that.
Yeah.
And it's always one of those movies. It's always a good test of the film if you like it when you get to the car.
I was going to say, or if people have to explain the inladen misogyny to you that was in the film on the car ride home.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite memories of our time back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Weirdly, gotta give Joker points. It did not feel like a particularly misogynistic movie, which is fucking impressive considering everything about it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing too, where it's like when I see people idolizing this movie and then they're like disrespectful to women, I'm like, well, clearly you didn't get the point.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, like, give Joker credit to this. I don't think he's racist, and I don't think he's sexist.
No, I think he's just weird and lonely, which does not inherently a sexist make.
No,
now,
exactly.
A lot of people on the internet take being weird and lonely into being sexist, but that does not mean that the two things are necessarily like linked. Like just because you're weird and lonely doesn't mean you have to be a sexist. There is still time. You could go out and enjoy conversation with women right now. If you're an incel listening to this podcast, go outside, see the sun,
talk
grass. To a woman. And be like, wow, she's a human being with thoughts and dreams and hopes, and not just some sort of bizarre sex machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then be like, wow, my life has changed. And then come back here and comment, wow, my life has changed. Thanks, Max and Emily.
If we can make a difference in the world, I'm happy to it. I will say, how funny would it be if Joker fully just completely just negates everything we just said?
I hope it's wildly misogynistic and we hate it. That would be so funny and amusing.
Yeah, that would be really funny. Just like, hey, treat everybody with respect. And then, just like Joker.
And then we get like fucking animated series Joker where he's just rampantly abusive to Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
You're like, JK Lamau?
Hey, but Joker is canonically not racist because he did not team up with Red Skull. Just saying. Like,
Joker never read to me as racist. He just kind of is a crazy person.
Yeah,
like
yeah. But that's our thoughts on Joker 2019. As we said, we're looking forward to the new film. We just wanted to make this as a companion to that review whenever we do release it. By the time this is up, shortly after, we'll have the Graveyard Shift uploaded. And please watch all those episodes. We're having a lot of fun recording those at the moment. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. With me today, we had...
Oh, it's me, Emily. You can find me on many other episodes of this podcast. You can also find me in your walls. Go check right now. Really good stuff on there.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Our Patreon's really cool. You can hear me and Max talk about the Batman for way too long at this review.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, like, subscribe, and share.
Comment this to the Batman to your Joker.
Bye.